In today's news, government questions reason behind the COI's 3-month extension, says the claims made are puzzling.
Social Security and NHI staff operate on a shift system to accommodate the low number of staff due to COVID-19 cases.
And Health Ministry concerned about residents and businesses who continue to encourage large gatherings and ignore COVID-19 protocols.
Virgin Islanders rally with prayers and support for Logan Cruz out of St. Croix as he epitomizes strength while fighting cancer.
And on the international scene, we see the United Kingdom recording nearly 400,000 cases in 2 days. Daily deaths surpassed 330. We'll get to these and more stories when 284 News return.
The wait is over. CCT Fire is here. Experience ultra-fast downloads, seamless streaming, and even more reliable connectivity on an all-new fire-blazing super-fast CCT Fiber network. CCT Fire. Bring it home and upgrade today.
Welcome everybody. It's Thursday, January 6, 2022. A terrific Thursday to each and every one of you. We are coming to you live and direct from the Virgin Islands. I'm Ron Grant.
And viewers, I'm Kamal Haynes. And we start today's newscast on the subject of the Commission of Inquiry, where the government is questioning the recent 3-month extension given to the Commission of Inquiry to produce their final report, labeling the main reason cited for the delay as puzzling. But this is according to a statement issued by the Premier's office on Wednesday, January 5th, which said the statement was a response on behalf of the BVI government on the further extension given to the COI. But the COI was scheduled to submit their final report of their investigations by January 19, 2022, after they were given a 6-month extension last year. However, just a few days ago, Governor John Rankin indicated that he had given the COI an additional 3-month extension after Commissioner Sir Gary Hickenbottom had requested for more time to submit the report. Well, according to a published press release by the COI, the issue of redaction of information from some documents continue to be a major hindrance in them being able to complete the report by the January deadline. But the COI said that this was due to ministers failing to make the necessary applications to the Commissioner to have documents redacted in a timely manner. While responding to the accusations, the government said it was puzzled by the Commissioner's claim that an issue of redaction was the main factor behind the delay of the report. Well, government said there was no need for redaction for the report provided to the Governor, as he has the privileges to view the report in its purest form. While the government said, and I quote, "Well, it is puzzling that the main reason cited by the Commission for delaying submission of the report to the Governor is the need to decide which parts of sensitive documents should be redacted. All documents provided by the government to the Commission are accessible by the Governor in unredacted form and could be supplied by the Commission to the Governor immediately and without change," the government explained. Well, government also claimed that it was the COI who said they would reach out to the ministers to query on whether they would want certain documents redacted. However, they say to date, no such requests were received by any of the ministers from the COI. But the government said, and I quote, "It is understandable that the Commissioner wishes to prepare a report in publishable form, but it is also surprising that the Commission should complain about delays in ministerial indications about which parts of thousands of pages of documents should be withheld for good reasons such as national security." Well, they added, the Commissioner himself said on the 22nd of October 2021, recognizing the scale of the task, he would let ministers know which documents in particular he would quote or rely on in his report. Well, despite requests from the Attorney General on the 25th of November 2021 and the 2nd of December 2021, as well as on the 30th of December 2021, this has yet to be done, end quote. But the government took it a step further to claim that if the issue of redaction was the main hindrance in delaying the report for a further 3 months, that should have been resolved if the COI had requested redactions on the date of their January 4th press release. The government said, had such been done, the redactions would have been completed to allow for the submission of the report in time for the original January 19th deadline. While they said, and I quote, "But the ministers are anxious to enable as full and fast publication of relevant documents as possible and expect, as they have already promised, to be able to obtain cabinet consent for any reductions which are needed within 10 days of being informed by the COI which documents they should be looking at. Therefore, If this is really the only issue causing this delay, then notification by the Commissioner about those documents on 4th January 2022 would still enable the report to be published by the previous 19 January 2022 deadline. Well, viewers, in the meantime, the government said this further delay will continue to cause strain on public officers who will be tasked with managing the work requested by the COI, coupled with their daily tasks. The government says, along with the strain, further unnecessary harm may continue to be done in the meantime to the reputation of the territory. Well, around here we see somewhat of a back and forth continue when it comes to basically publications from the COI, then that of the publications from the government. Here we would have seen yesterday where we reported that the COI basically stated that obviously on approval of the governor that they will be given a further 3-month extension due to needing time to basically process the thousands of files of documents. And then another major point that they touched on was the fact that redactions would have played somewhat of a role in basically slowing down the process to have it done in time. But here now we see the government less than 24 hours later basically responding, stating that, that is not the case. We are confused as to why you would even claim such when we still had enough time to basically redact the statements if that was the case. Based on the information we got from the government, it seems as though government was on the under the impression that it was the commission of inquiry that needed to request basically indicate to the ministers which files they wanted redacted, and not that of the other way where the COI would have said that they were relying on the ministers to indicate what needed to be redacted. So here we see somewhat of a miscommunication between the two parties, and somewhat of a back and forth still continue to spill over to in the public eyes.
Kamal, a back and forth is exactly what you call that. Of course, outside of the redaction of the documents, the government of the Virgin Islands continues to say that, thousands of pages of documents were submitted, and subsequently I get the impression that they felt as though that was enough, whereas you see the Commission of Inquiry saying that it's one of the sole reasons is because adequate information was not being submitted upon the request of the ministers. You submitting thousands of pages of documents doesn't mean that you're submitting what is being requested. Okay, that's the first thing. And then the second thing is we continue to hear from the government of the Virgin Islands that it has been putting a strain on the government's system and its workers. I can understand that, and at the end of the day though, however, this is perhaps one of the most pivotal moments in history. So the excuse that it's putting a strain on the government system and its workers, I think is quite nonchalant, because it is important both to the government and the COI, and I think in the final analysis it is essentially important for the government ministers to ensure that the ministries are being represented and putting forward the adequate information. But another question I have to say is, at the end of the day, when is enough extension time? Enough extension time. This is not the first time that we've seen an extension, and who's to say whether or not there will not be an additional extension from the Commission of Inquiry at the end of the 3 months. I think that's where the line needs to be drawn. The Commission of Inquiry, in all honesty, has been in the territory. They've served their time, and I think 1 or 2 extensions is fine, but I think there needs to be some sort of a endpoint where they can continue with their duties, they can issue a report, and we too here in the Virgin Islands could hopefully move forward with the affairs of the people.
I do agree with you to some extent, especially the fact that you're stating that there were several extensions given, but at the same time too, I still understand the perspective of both ends.
Yes.
Where the Commission of Inquiry would have basically said, we don't want to just publish the documents. It's one thing to submit the information to the governor unredacted, in terms of the raw information, but in terms of their duty is also to publish this information also to the public, so that we can see where they would have ruled certain where they would have made certain decisions and why. And what they're saying is too, because previously we would have seen the Commission of Inquiry publishing certain information that was later then it became somewhat of a national security issue.
Correct.
Where the Attorney General then therefore had to basically warn the COI of the implications of publishing such information.
And I'd like to add, Kamal, that that in of itself, the issue of national security, especially when the governor of the Virgin Islands is a part of that National Security Council, that's where we see a miscommunication, because clearly all the agencies and all the persons that are supposed to be taking the best interest of the Virgin Islands at heart, put aside the COI, national security is the #1 agenda. It should always be the #1 agenda. The governor of the Virgin Islands, in continuing to issue extensions has an obligation to represent the people of this territory, and if a matter of national security as head of the National Security Council is being compromised, then that's where he steps in, and I don't think that's being done.
Well, I mean, to your point of national security, I think that is why the process has been stalled, because what the Commission of Inquiry is saying is we don't want to publish this information and then it breaches national security. So we need you, the ministers, to indicate what it can publish from what it cannot publish, and therefore that's what's stalling the process. So that's basically what they're saying. They're trying not to compromise national security by publishing
Completely
sensitive
understand.
information.
Beautiful.
So that's where the stall basically is presently.
Wonderful. Viewers, we're continuing on the local scene. The staff at the BVI Social Security Board and the NHI offices are said to be presently operating on a shift system until further notice due to the limited number of staff, of course, brought on by the onset of COVID-19 and the continued spike in the Virgin Islands. Now, the shift team system, they call it, has been implemented by the agency to better manage staff and any possible COVID-19 exposure while still being able to serve the general public. Now, the offices are still open to the public for regular business hours. Presently, some staff report to work on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, while others report on Tuesday and Thursday. This is rotated every other week and is expected until further notice. Our newsroom reached out to the Deputy Director of the Social Security Board, Ms. Lori Freeman, who was unavailable for a comment at the time of publication. Now, viewers, the Social Security and NHI offices join the list of organizations affected by the COVID-19 spike here in the Virgin Islands, causing many to operate remotely or reduced hours and services. Recently, the BVI Airports Authority has shortened the operational hours at the Terrence B. Lethem International Airport after experiencing a reduction in staff due to the present COVID-19 spike in the BVI. Now, both the Immigration and Trade Departments are reportedly closed they have reportedly closed physical operations, that is as of January 4th, and will be operating remotely. We'll continue to monitor the story, and we do wish all our government offices and their employees the very best as they continue to execute their duties despite of the challenges. They're doing, I think personally, a phenomenal job in trying to navigate through the changing times, and we do wish you all the best. Viewers, Health Ministry up next, concerned about residents and businesses who continue to encourage large gatherings and ignore, they say, the COVID-19 protocol, and Virgin Islanders are rallying around the one and only Logan Cruz with prayers and support as the toddler fights cancer. All this and so much more after a word from our sponsors. You're watching 284 News.
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Well, welcome back, viewers. Well, the Ministry of Health has expressed concerns regarding some residents and businesses establishments who continue to ignore their advice to restrict movement and large social gatherings. But this was revealed by the Acting Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Ronald Georges, in a recent statement following the rise of active COVID-19 cases in the British Virgin Islands, which had risen to 601. That's the last reported number. Well, he said, and I quote, "While we continue to see large gatherings and lack of adherence to measures, where the public is strongly advised to avoid all large gatherings and to strictly adhere to the public health protocols, we are asking all organizers to do the responsible thing and defer large gatherings at this time." Well, he continued, "If you do have a gathering, do ensure that there is strict mask wearing and adherence to public health measures at these events and that numbers of persons are limited." End quote. But Dr. Georges also credited those residents and businesses who have been adhering to the COVID-19 protocols and implementing measures to ensure a safe operation for workers and customers. Well, he said, and I quote, "Well, some organizers have taken the innovative approach to require or organize rapid testing prior to events. Well, this is a welcome approach and provides some assurance, but is not foolproof. There is no substitute for a well-fitted mask, hand washing, social distancing, and avoidance of gatherings for the prevention of infection," end quote. where the acting CMO further said that the onus is on residents and businesses to be responsible and heed the advice of the health professionals. Says the BVI government at this point is taking the approach of not implementing any drastic measures which could negatively impact the economy. Meanwhile, Dr. Georges also said that the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the BVI Health Services Authority, will be working this week to streamline the process of getting tested for COVID-19. Well, he said residents can presently access PCR testing at the Dr. D. Orlando Smith Hospital tent by registering at the website https://althea, that is althea.bvi.care, and by calling the medical hotline at 852-7650 if they have any symptoms of COVID-19. In addition, he said private medical establishments are also providing PCR testing, which remains the gold standard for diagnosis, as well as rapid antigen type tests. Well, the symptoms of COVID-19 include fever or chills, cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle or body aches, headaches, loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea or vomiting, and diarrhea. Dr. Georges advised that if anyone presents any of the aforementioned symptoms, they should immediately isolate and seek to be tested either by the rapid test or PCR test. Ron, here we see somewhat of a stern warning from the acting chief medical officer regarding, some of these establishments and some persons who continue to act as though COVID-19 doesn't exist.
We have a lot of cases, not only with the large gatherings, Kamal, like the CMO said, but I hear him encouraging persons who may be experiencing symptoms or have tested positive to isolate. You still have some very unfortunate cases where persons are putting others at risk by still coming out to the general population. I think we really have to take the health of ourselves and, most importantly, our friends, family, and our territory at large. But viewers, on to a very sombering story. The hashtag #LoganStrong is one that has become known to residents and friends all across the Virgin Islands and beyond. This is because the story of baby Logan, as he is affectionately called, Logan Cruz, is one that truly epitomizes strength and resilience, as the toddler who hails from St. Croix, USVI, continues to fight a very aggressive form of cancer. Family, friends, and Virgin Islanders from near and far continue to support in many ways to Logan and his family. Now, the Logan Miracle Foundation was created to share his updates as he receives treatments. On December 7th, 2021, in a Facebook post, Logan's mom, Anais, posted, and I quote, "About a week ago, I found out that Logan's treatment failed yet again. This is now the 6th failed treatment, and the cancer came back. The doctors walked into the room and suggested that I take him home to spend time with my family until he passed away. However, God has other plans for my son. Logan looked so sick and I couldn't move a few days ago. Now, 2 days later, she said, Logan looks like himself, and I've only been getting good news. I took this photo today, and looking back just 2 days ago reassured me that God isn't done with Logan as yet. As Logan's mother, I refuse to accept what the doctors were telling me. We are still fighting, and there is no way I'm giving up on Logan. She said God has other plans for Logan and I. His testimony will be one that the world will not forget. Now, presently in the Miami, Florida area, he continues to be in surgeries and receive treatment thanks to donors. In a late post, his mom said, "Hey guys, my DM is blowing up and with messages, and I'm trying to get back to everyone. However, I'm still waiting to hear back from the blood bank. As to right now, I don't have much information. Thank you guys for sharing." Now, persons wishing to be updated and contribute in any way to the Logan Miracle Foundation of Logan Cruz in his fight against cancer can, of course, visit the Facebook post. That's the Logan Miracle Foundation. Of course, we're going to continue to keep you posted and updated. Kamal, this is a story that has really gone viral. Logan, a Cruzian native, along with his family, just across the waters, has garnered support and much prayers and encouragement, not only from the U.S. Virgin Islands, but here in Tortola, Virgin Gorda. When you see the hashtag Logan Strong, it really brings to light the struggle that this toddler and his family has been experiencing for some years. But one of the things that I really think it contributes to the fabric of our community is, though we might be separated by water, though we might be, some say USVI, some say BVI, some say we are the original Virgin Islands and we should stop using BVI. At the end of the day, we are grounded by family, faith, and a love for one another. And when you see the support that has been rallied and pushed behind Logan, this toddler, and his entire family, I think it really speaks to the strength of Virgin Islands family and friends, and that bond that really connects us. So we do continue to wish him and his family the very best, particularly his mom and grandmothers, much strength as they continue to care for him.
Indeed. Well, viewers, up next, COVID-19 cases jumped to 2,875 in the United States Virgin Islands, and as just received, we would have seen the cases in the BVI almost reaching 1,000. We get to those stories when 284 News return.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Well, welcome back, viewers. Right now we have hot off the press some COVID-19 updates in the British Virgin Islands, where we see some 958 positive active cases right now in the territory. That number would have significantly increased from the last update that was issued sometime a couple of days ago, where we would have seen 601. Now we have 958 active cases in the BVI. I'll try to break down the numbers here to you guys, where 755 are on the island of Tortola, 175 on the island of Virgin Gorda, 20 on Anegada, 8 on Jos Van Dyke. To date, the hospitalization numbers are consistent with the last issue, which states that there are 12 hospitalizations presently. Now, of the analysis of the active cases, some 483 are local cases, 377 contacts of cases, 29 were detected through travel screening, 64 on entry screening day 0, and 5 on entry screening day 7. Ron, this is some very concerning news. We are somewhat going back to what we would have seen last summer, correct, July, August, where we would have seen cases surpassing 1,000. We're just somewhat 42 cases shy of 1,000, yeah. And as we would see, we're seeing so many other businesses now being affected, and whether it be operating on reduced hours or closing at all. It's very concerning right now in the territory.
It is absolutely concerning, Kamal. At the end of the day, one of the things that we are still very thankful for when we look at the silver lining to the cloud, as we always try to do, is that there are not large numbers of hospitalizations or persons in the ICU, which is a good note. However, we do have to continue to monitor. One of the things that we have to really essentially look at, where it's, you said it's really close to the 1,000 mark, but again, it's very close and very similar to that figure that we had last summer. And I think holistically, as a territory, we don't want these figures to negate or take away from the progress that we've made as a territory. And I think that sometimes is the case, where we make progress, we reintegrated, we're continuing, we're trying to open, and businesses are trying to reintegrate, tourists are coming in, but the minute the figures start coming, that then washes away the progress. And at the end of the day, when you balance lives and livelihood, you have to take a step back. But I want us to consider that in the final analysis, that we have to continue some way of making sure that our businesses and our families, while being protected, are still being sustained.
And the thing about the numbers as well is, though, that a lot of persons now are waiting to see the steps government will take. I know the government would have initially stated that they're not trying to implement any drastic measures. Right. You know, they don't want to do anything to really hamper the economy. but at the same time, you still have to be able to contain this number, ensure it, and it really doesn't get out of hand, because remember the acting chief medical officer, Dr. Georges, stated that if the Omicron version of the COVID-19 virus reaches the territory,
that number
those numbers could quadruple,
increase,
basically, and we do not want that to happen in the territory, because as you said, what it does, it retards the progress that we would have made. I'm sure a lot of cruise ships would basically cancel their berths to the territory. A lot of persons would cancel their plans to the territory in terms of trips through the airports, and as a result, we will see somewhat of a negative effect back to the tourism sector again, where persons, who would have been welcoming this recent, in this recent influx of monetary value, etc., in sales, and that would somewhat retard, and we will go back to the times where persons are going to heavily rely on government for packages or for some sort of support. And we basically have to try to find, as you said, balance between lives and livelihoods, and I'm sure that that's something that the Ministry of Health is presently actively working on right now to see what's best for the economy and what's best for the people.
Absolutely. You mentioned about the public then in some cases relying on government for packages, but most importantly stimulus. So that was a huge conversation of 2021, where persons were relying and really asking the government from a business perspective and an individual perspective for assistance and stimulus. We see where the government was essentially unable to issue a second stimulus. And I think what persons need to realize is, while the government of the Virgin Islands, I think in all honesty, would like to be able to assist and would like to be able to readily contribute to businesses and individuals who are having a difficult time, that in of itself continues to add an additional strain and an already strained fiscal budget. And because of that, at the end of the day, we have to essentially police ourselves. We have to essentially look at what's holistic and what's important. I don't want our territory, I don't want my country, I don't want my people to get so heavily reliant on government assistance, because in the final analysis, then you're not essentially policing yourself, you're not taking care of yourself, you're waiting for the government for a handout. And I understand that at the end of the day, that might be necessary and needed in many cases, but that cannot consistently be the go-to, because our government is in no position to continue to give stimuluses, whether it's once a year, twice a year, and we're in the third year of COVID, and we have to continue to look at it. I want to raise one point before we go, viewers, as Kamal raised about tourism. We have to also look at the deterrent. Recently, the BVI was placed on the U.S. Travel warning list, and at that time, it was a moderate to low risk. We have to continue to monitor that to see at what point we will be whether updated or lessened, but that is essentially a huge part of the deterrent that is done when it comes to the rise in COVID. Countries take precautions, and they literally tell their people not to travel to a particular country because of the number. So these are some aspects, Kamal, that we have to continue to look at.
Indeed.
Viewers, before we go, we pan across the USVI. The VI Department of Health on Wednesday night reported some 2,875 active COVID-19 infections, up 328 from Tuesday's 2,494 cases. Now, the spread is led by the weaker but highly contagious Omicron variant of COVID-19, which is now the dominant strain in the U.S. Virgin Islands, sidelining, of course, the deadly Delta variant, according to the Department of Health Delta over in St. Thomas. That's data, sorry. St. Thomas accounted for 1,380 active infections, followed by St. Croix, 1,376, and St. John with 119. The latest numbers are another record for each island again. Last week, the Department of Health provided the U.S. Virgin Islands residents with some data after request showing that the percentage of vaccinated individuals in the USVI who have been testing positive for COVID-19 are quite high. According to the Department of Health, the infection rate among vaccinated individuals has averaged at 8.4% since November 2021. However, of course, that data is still limited because it only represents the VI Department of Health in contact tracing. Again, we see where our brothers and sisters, just like us, are continuing to navigate and trying their very best to maneuver through these difficult times. But as we would expect, the cases will rise, and we continue to wish countries the very best. Viewers, that is all the time we have. We have so much more content for you, but unfortunately we are out of time. It is always an honor and privilege to be bringing you the daily happenings, both locally, regionally, and internationally. Be sure to stick to our website, our Facebook page, our Twitter for all the latest happenings. I am Ron Grant. We'll see you tomorrow.
Viewers, I'm Kamal Haynes, and thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for another day of informative news tomorrow.
Bye-bye.